This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Mrs. Anne-Marie Davis, the wife of Prime Minister Philip Davis, continues to address the ongoing violence against women here in the Bahamas. She noted at the International Women's Day conclave held by BTC that many women are afraid to speak up about the acts of violence against them. Here's Laurencia Smith with that report.
We need all hands on deck if we are to make significant strides toward freeing our women from the oppressive violence that they face every day, every single day. Violence that ranges from small micro abuses, that you may encounter by getting on the bus or somewhere else, just small incidences, or shopping in the grocery store, you might get pushed onto the side, all these little things. It goes from that to the terrible murders and the out-of-control rapes that we capture every day in our daily crime reports.
Mrs. Davis says that identifying the solution is just as important as identifying the issues. In recent months, a number of unfortunate acts of violence against women made headlines. One of the most recent being the murder of a young mother, Heavenly Trevenus, the mother of a newborn son. Many have criticized the system, which some have also said has failed many.
Yes, the police officers need a lot of training. From when you have to walk into the station to make a report, they need training from that level. Some might think, oh, that was just a little slap, what you complaining about? Or, if you stay there that long, you must be like it, so what you coming in here for? Or, worse than that, the poor woman might walk in there to make a complaint and see her husband sitting at one of the desks. So what does she do? She leaves and prepares herself for another pounding when he gets home because she tried to report him. These are realities that happen.
Mrs. Davis says that poor conflict resolution skills and antiquated views of gender roles have all contributed to the problem that are just as much as social and cultural issues as they are policies and legislative issues.
We need all hands on deck if we are to make significant strides toward freeing our women from the oppressive violence that they face every day, every single day. Violence that ranges from small micro abuses, that you may encounter by getting on the bus or somewhere else, just small incidences, or shopping in the grocery store, you might get pushed onto the side, all these little things. It goes from that to the terrible murders and the out-of-control rapes that we capture every day in our daily crime reports.
I'm Laurencia Smith for JCN News.
Thank you, Laurencia. Travel advisory to the Bahamas for the United States citizens and residents has gone from a level 4, very high, to a level 3, high. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has lowered its travel risk advisory for the country as there is a significant decline in the daily COVID-19 infections. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville recently told reporters that the Bahamas was in discussions with the CDC and talks were moving in the right direction. That said, the Ministry of Health and Wellness advising last evening that the CDC has de-escalated the COVID-19 travel risk advisory rating for the Bahamas. Now at a level 3, the advisory advises international travelers to be up to date with their COVID-19 vaccines before traveling to the Bahamas. But it also indicates that there are still risks for contracting and spreading the virus even if COVID-19 vaccines are up to date. Dr. Darville called the upgrade encouraging. However, he reminds the public to continue to comply with COVID-19 protocols, as he says it's so important that Bahamians and residents fully appreciate that the country's return to normalcy is closely tied to all of us continuing to be compliant with COVID safety recommendations. Now, the Bahamas was moved to a level 3 travel health advisory from a level 2 in early January. However, due to a spike in cases that ushered in a fourth wave of the pandemic, the CDC moved the country to a level 4. The now move to level 3 comes as cases continue to be low single digits. Dr. Darville adds that we all hold the key to our success. Free testing is available for everyone who wishes to know their COVID-19 status, and getting vaccinated remains the scientifically best proven way of protecting ourselves and our loved ones. He says, let's do all we need to do to help keep our country moving forward. With this in mind, the Bahamas is faring well in its keeping new COVID infections to low single digits. The Ministry of Health and Wellness confirming just 3 new cases on Thursday. The previous dashboard on Wednesday, March 9th, also saw just 3 new cases, 2 on New Providence and 1 case on Eleuthera. Thursday's dashboard indicating 1 case apiece on New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma. Active cases now at 110. Hospitalizations have increased to 13, with 2 COVID patients in intensive care. On the flip side, 11 people were reported recovered from the virus on Thursday. If we can see a return of regattas, then to not have schools fully face-to-face around the country. And that's according to Education, Technical and Vocational Training Minister Glenys Hannah Martin. Speaking with reporters recently, the Education Minister made it clear that she intends to ensure that there is a complete return of face-to-face learning nationwide.
We anticipate, and I am advocating for our children to get into the classroom fully face-to-face, 100% in the shortest possible time. The Ministry of Health is guiding us, and today the Prime Minister announced about regattas and all of that. So certainly, if we see regattas taking place, we got to make sure we get our children in. So I anticipate it will be in very short order. Because we now know that the virtual reality or not attending at all for 2 years has had a serious impact on the learning ability of children and also on their social ability, their ability to socialize, etc. So getting them back is a big step forward in our country. We should celebrate it and support it.
Now, the Education Minister also notes that a major contributing factor to the delay of face-to-face learning, aside from COVID regulations, has been a lack of teachers to facilitate the transaction, most notably on islands like Abaco and other underdeveloped or recovering islands.
Well, because of the COVID protocols, which require certain square footage between students, we've not been able to get the entire population on the campus at any one time. But we are ensuring that each child during the course of that week will be in face-to-face, so that the entire school during the course of that week will be in face-to-face instruction. But it's still hybrid to that extent because of the COVID protocols. That is the predominant reason why we've not been able to do it 100%. There is a school in Abaco that's fully virtual, and that has more to do with teacher shortages. And the challenge in Abaco has been, quite apart from a national, is accommodations after the hurricane, the shortages of in accommodation, the high cost of accommodation, and also, trying to encourage teachers to go in communities like that where the help is so desperately needed. But we're making tremendous progress.
Minister Hannah Martin says that the government is now exploring avenues to incentivize teachers to accept the challenge of those teaching positions on the Family Islands, as it now seeks to reverse the brain drain brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Of the Bahamas must know its capabilities and shortcomings in the event of a real organized attack on ports and ships. And on Thursday, from the Emergency Operations Center on Gladstone Road, multiple government agencies communicating and coordinating efforts in response to explosions, fires, and medical emergencies was seen. Argerino Saunders was in the heart of the operation and gives us these details.
Yes, there may be some areas that need attention, but for the most part, defense and emergency medical agencies and organizations here in the Bahamas performed well in the International Ship and Port Facility Security Exercise, with mock explosions taking place almost simultaneously at ports on Inagua, Bimini, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama, and New Providence. There were several deaths recorded and a few dozen injuries ranging in severity. As Love 97 JCN observed the exercise from the Emergency Operations Center on Gladstone Road, it was the Royal Bahamas Defense Force that seemed to be the quickest to respond and get information from the site of the explosions and fires to the control center. Commander Sonia Miller gave us a little more insight into her team's performance in such a critical exercise.
Defense Force is playing a very, how can I put it, very aggressive role in this exercise. We are responding to assist with all security that's on land and in our maritime domain. I must say our response time thus far, from what I can see, has been very good. There's always room for improvement, but this is our first time in a long time conducting an exercise. I think we performed fairly well. Overall, even the crew here in the NEOC, as you can see behind me, they're very busy. We've been working our fingers off from the exercise started. So the information is coming in hot and fast.
Shortly after, the Royal Bahamas Police Force also began to hit its stride, with vital detailed information streaming in from its fire department on the impacted islands. However, there were some shortfalls that caused emergency personnel to have to improvise. We asked Assistant Commissioner of Police Craig Stubbs, who led the police team, for an assessment of his team's performance near the end stage of the exercise.
Yeah, we have established communication with them and to ensure that the proper information come back to command center as relates to the injured, casualties, damaged structures, and what is needed to transport those injured persons from the respective islands to the capital for further medical assistance. Yes, we notice now. We know now that in some areas we find the equipments were not functioning, and so this is time now for us to now assess those equipments in which islands they were in, and then to prepare a document presented forward to the government, so those deficiencies can be dealt with in a timely manner in the event we experience something of this magnitude.
The emergency medical team was swift and accountable, giving real-time updates on locations, injuries, and deaths. And despite there being some challenges in some instances where private vehicles had to be used to transport the injured, Kevin Bell, Deputy Director of Emergency Medical Services, explained the role they played in the national exercise.
Okay, so our role pretty much is to do scene size-ups, triage the victims, determine how we're going to go about transporting them. And so far with this exercise, our timing has been pretty good, minus some traffic issues on Bay Street trying to get to the scene. So far, we've had reported a number of injuries, some fatalities, and we still have crew members on the scene at our port doing a size-up. Well, we have representation in Abaco, North Abaco, as well as some volunteer services in Eleuthera. They are on scene. They're rendering care. One patient so far in Eleuthera has been transported to clinic.
The government, through the Ministry of Transport and Housing, will wait for an official detailed report on strengths and weaknesses from the coordinating team led by Commander Bertram Bowleg. Jarino Saunders, JCN News.
Thanks, Jarino. The cruise ship industry plays a major role in the tourism product for the Bahamas. Every year, millions of people step onto our shores via a cruise ship, bringing them revenue that supports many Bahamians' livelihoods. Despite this, these cruise ships also bring with them something that dangerously affects our waters: waste. It was revealed in 2019 that Carnival Sunrise discharged some 500,000 gallons of sewerage in our waters. Well, President of Carnival Cruise Line, Christine Duffy, says that compliance is their #1 priority.
So Carnival Corporation is committed. Our #1 priority is compliance and care for the environment, the work that we are doing, the investments we are making to ensure that we can operate sustainably, as we have made investments in our newest ships with LNG technology, and any lessons that we have learned we have incorporated into our commitments as we move forward to ensure that we keep everyone healthy, safe, and including the destinations that we bring our ships to. That's a #1 priority for our entire corporation.
Former Minister of the Environment and Housing, Ramal Ferreira, back in 2021, told parliamentarians in the lower chamber that for too long, cruise ships have treated Bahamian waters like a toilet. Earlier this month, Minister of Transport and Housing, Jobab Colby Davis, suggested that Carnival Cruise Lines will face penalties in connection with its dumping sewage and food waste in Bahamian waters in 2017. A compendium of environmental bills were passed back in 2019 and address issues such as this, among others. Well, that does it for news this evening. Once again, I'm Leah Cooper, and from all of us here at JCN News, have a wonderful evening, everyone.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.